Hi there. Welcome to the Electric Monarch YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Heather Monthie, and I am the founder of Electric Monarch, where we help people start, grow, and scale drone businesses. So we do FAA Part 107 certificate training. We do some training on how to start and grow a drone business. And we also offer some additional training that's going to be coming up here in the future. Today, what I wanted to do is do an information session. It is Drone Safety Day. I'm putting this on YouTube so people can watch this whenever they would like outside of Drone Safety Day, but we're making this specifically for Drone Safety Day, April 27th, 2024. And this is a sort of an overview on what it takes to get the FAA Part 107 certificate, or sometimes known as your drone pilot's license. So what we'll do today is we'll go over a little bit about, who is eligible to take the exam, what is it that you need to do to prepare for the exam, what happens after the exam, and then some just general study tips. So I wanted to take this time to just give you some information on how to get your drone pilot's license. So, again, my name is Dr. Heather Monthie. I am an FAA certificated flight instructor. I'm a manned aircraft pilot as well as a remote pilot. I have a PhD in information technology and a master's in teaching. I have worked in education for a very long time, for well over 20 years. I have worked with people to help them start careers and businesses in any area of technology, whether it's in IT, information security, data science, all of those things. And now with drones, we're able to take my love of technology and my love of aviation, bring them together into drones. So now I have started Electric Monarch to help people who are interested in getting into the drone industry learn about what those different opportunities are. And whether you want to start your own business or you want to pivot your career into the drone industry, that's where I come in. So that's how I help you. Today's topic is getting the FAA Part 107 certificate, aka your drone pilot license. And then we're going to go over some additional training and resources that I have available for you and that the FAA also makes available for you. So, what is the FAA Part 107 drone pilot certificate? So, Part 107, the definition of Part 107, that is 14 CFR Part 107. So, 14 CFR is the Code of Federal Regulations, 14 is aviation, Part 107 is the rules and regulations that small unmanned aircraft operate under. Okay. So this is going to be any aircraft that does not have a pilot on board of the aircraft, and it is under a certain weight. Okay. So if you are getting your Part 107 certificate, you are getting a remote pilot certificate with a small unmanned aircraft rating. Okay. And so the scope of operations under the Part 107 rule is that you can fly your drone for commercial purposes under Part 107. So you follow the rules and regulations under Part 107 as you're flying your drone for commercial purposes. Now, it's important to understand that commercial flying does not need to be that money is exchanging hands. Okay. So it's not necessarily somebody coming up to you and saying, hey, can you take some photos of my kid's football game? Pay you $50, right? It's not just that. It's in furtherance of any business. So the rule of thumb really is if it's not recreational, it's commercial. So if you're not just going up and flying around for fun for your own personal recreation, then it's probably going to be a commercial flight and you'll need your Part 107 certificate. Okay. So the reason for this is because we have certain regulations that commercial drone pilots need to understand. Even recreational pilots need to understand this as well. You're flying your drone in the same airspace in which manned aircraft pilots are flying or crewed aircraft pilots are flying. Okay. And so there's people on these aircraft. And if you've ever gone on YouTube and seen videos of drones crashing into aircraft, the aircraft does get significantly damaged. So you're putting human lives at risk. You're also putting human lives at risk on the ground from fallen debris, things like this. So we want to make sure that if you are flying your drone, that you understand the rules of the sky, the rules of which you are flying in. It's no different than if you're going to go drive around on a highway system. You need to understand the highway system. You need to understand how it works. You need to understand the rules. You need to understand what other people are doing. And so it's very important for safety to know exactly what you should and should not be doing as a drone pilot. So the Part 107 certificate is a way for the FAA to ensure that you have a good, solid understanding of the federal aviation regulations. It's also a good thing for you if you are starting a drone business, you're trying to break into the drone industry as a career. It is a good way to show that you're a professional, you care about safety, you care about the rules, you care about the regulations, and that you're doing the things that you need to do to be on top of all of the different things that are in place for drone pilots. Okay. This is just a really important piece to becoming a drone pilot. So the exam itself, it's not a flying exam. It's not like when you go get a pilot's license to fly an airplane. When you go get a pilot's license to fly an airplane, you have a couple different tests you have to take. The final tests are going to be a written exam, which is going to be a computerized multiple choice test. And then you take an oral exam, which is where you meet with a designated pilot examiner. They represent the FAA. That person will sit down with you and have a conversation and test your knowledge in that sense. And then you'll do a practical where you actually go up with that pilot examiner and demonstrate your flying abilities, flying skills, and how to react during an emergency, things like that. With the drone pilot certificate, as of right now, it is a multiple choice computerized exam. Okay. There is no practical portion to the exam. You do not need to demonstrate that you know how to fly a drone. All right. So, really, what we're doing here is we're testing to make sure that you understand the rules of the sky. Like I said earlier, that the rules, regulations, that you understand some basic aviation concepts, that you understand safety, things like that. So, we'll go over all of the different topics here. You can see in point 3, we'll go over all the different topics that you'll need to know in order to pass that exam. So, number 1, who needs the Part 107 certificate? Like I said earlier, there are some exemptions to some people who do not need the Part 107 certificate. But generally speaking, if you're going to be flying your drone for commercial purposes, then you need it. You do need it to fly legally, to be compliant. Okay. So if you're using it in furtherance of a business, so you have a YouTube channel and you're taking drone footage for your YouTube channel and you're putting it out there in furtherance of a business, yes, you need to have your Part 107 certificate. If you are doing any sort of photography for friends and family, just hey, can you do this for us? Yes, you need your drone pilot certificate. Okay. So again, remember, just the rule of thumb, really easy rule of thumb is if it's not you, just, oh, it's Saturday afternoon, I think I'm gonna go fly my drone, then it's probably a commercial operation. I really truly think that with a little bit of time and effort and studying, everybody should get this. It certainly helps you, even if you do not plan to fly commercial drones, it does help you really understand the airspace in which you're operating in. Okay. So I really think it's gonna help you with your overall knowledge. So number 2, basic eligibility criteria, age, language, etc. There are certain eligibility requirements. You can go on 14 CFR Part 107 and read those very specific requirements. I'll bring those up here in a second. And you will get links to all this. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's links to all this stuff in the description. I've also got a slide that has all these links on it as well that you can take a screenshot of it so you have the links for later as well. So we're going to go over to the FAA's website here where they've got it easily listed out here of what the eligibility requirements are for the remote pilot certificate. You can look these up under 14 CFR as well. But there's a couple different things. If you go to this website, faa.gov/UAS, that's the general UAS website for the FAA. Then they've got this commercial operators become a drone pilot here. Okay. So there's eligibility requirements for first-time pilots, and then you've got eligibility down here for existing Part 61 certificate holders. These are going to be pilots that have a certificate under Part 61, which is going to be a crewed aircraft or an aircraft in which there is a pilot on the airplane. Okay. So if you do not already have a pilot's certificate under Part 61, this would be your requirements here as your first time pilots. Okay. So it says here to become a pilot, you must be 16 years old, be able to read, speak, write, and understand English, be in a physical and mental condition to safely fly a drone. And then you're going to pass the initial aeronautical knowledge exam, and it's called the Unmanned Aircraft General, or small UAG, okay? Unmanned Aircraft General exam. And so that's the sort of this just general requirements to become a drone pilot. So again, you have to pass that exam and then meet those other eligibility requirements. Number 3 is overview of the knowledge exam, major topics required or covered. So the FAA does publish all of the different topics that you will be required to know and what you will be tested on in the Part 107 exam. They do this for all of their pilot certificates. They publish something called the Airman Certification Standards, or the ACS. Okay. And on that document is where it's going to be spelled out exactly everything that you need to know for that exam. It's going to tell you, it's broken up into a couple different subject areas. And then it will also tell you how many questions you'll get on that subject area and what specific do you need to know about that particular topic area. Okay. So the Airman Certification Standards is also on the FAA's website. I've got the link there for you, but you can also go to Google, type in FAA Airman Certification Standard. I always suggest that you go directly to the FAA's website for this kind of information, because what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have the most current information. They're pretty good about taking down old information. That doesn't mean there's not old information out there flying around, okay? So what you'll do is you'll come to the Airman Certification Standards page on the FAA's website, and then you're just going to scroll down until you find the remote pilot. Remote pilot, small unmanned aircraft system, so SUAS, Airman Certification Standards. So you're going to click on that link. It's going to bring up a PDF document. It is 35 pages long. I do have a couple videos on my YouTube channel about this Airman Certification Standard, so I suggest going back and taking a look at some of those. But you can use this as your study checklist, okay? So this is just all the things that they changed, that they've updated, all right? Table of contents here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different areas that you will be tested on in the Part 107 exam, all right? And then from there, it's going to go into details of what are the different things here that you need to know. So the first section is regulations. You're going to need to know Part 107. Airspace classification and operating requirements. You're going to be flying in airspace, FAA governed airspace, and so you need to understand it. And so this section will cover airspace classifications and operating requirements. Different types of airspace have different operating requirements. Specifically for all different types of aircraft, but specifically for drones, there's different types of requirements depending on the airspace that you're in. Weather, you'll look at different types of weather, how it affects performance of your drone. You also look at how to read weather charts. You want to, if you're out flying your drone, you don't want to be caught in a thunderstorm, something like this. So you want to make sure that you know how to check weather. You look at things like loading and performance. So making sure that the drone is balanced, that you haven't put a payload on it it results in it being overweight. You want to understand center of gravity, center of balance, things like that. And then different operations. So radio communications, airport operations, emergency procedures, decision making, things like that. So those are all the different topics that you're going to be tested on. All right. And so each one of these has a different task, different type thing, right? So right here is the coding. We're going to go over this coding here in a second, but this coding right here is something that you can use after you take the test to figure out what questions you got wrong. Okay. We'll go over that later. So again, here, the first one was regulations. Task A is general. These are the different codes. So up here, these are the different codes. So UA is unmanned aircraft. I is the area of operation. So I is regulations. A, task A. And then K is the knowledge element. All right. So the knowledge element 1 for regulations, task A general, is applicability of 14 CFR to small unmanned aircraft systems. So if we're going to go look at applicability of 14 CFR Part 107, right here, applicability. You're going to be tested on all of those different things, okay? And then it will go through a very specific things, okay? Accident reporting. So when do you have to report accidents? How do you do that? What kind of records do you need to keep? Things like that, okay? Then you come down here to operating rules. What are the registration requirements? What are the requirements for the SUAS to be in a condition for safe operations? Alcohol or drugs and the provisions on prohibition of use. All of this stuff is stuff that you need to know to pass the Part 107 exam. And it also helps make you a safer drone pilot. So you can go through here. Again, I got a YouTube video where I go through this in a little bit more detail, but you can go through here and literally use this as a checklist, as a study list. Like you can go through here and go, yeah, remote pilot responsibilities when operating over people. I get it. I understand it. Check it off. Okay. So if you go to my Part 107 study guide, which is right here at offers.flyelectricmonarch.com/study guide, what I have done is I have taken that airman certification standard and then pointed you in the direction of the FAA materials that covers that particular topic. So the FAA does publish a study guide for the Part 107 exam. It doesn't cover everything that's in this. It doesn't cover everything that's in the airman certification standard to the detail that I think you need to know to pass the exam. So what I did is I took my study guide and basically aligned it to that airman certification standard and said, okay, for these particular things, you're going to go read this document on this section or this page. Okay. Everything is available for free on the internet that you need to know. The FAA publishes it all for free. You don't need to buy anything. Okay. It just depends on the format of what you want. If you want something in a certain format or you like the way a certain person teaches, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and buy it and whatever you need to do to prepare for the exam. But if you're really just more interested in getting all the information, you've got PDFs that you can print up and note take and that sort of thing, you can get all of the content for free from the FAA. Okay. It's just not all in one place. So that's what I did with my study guide here is pointed you to the direction of what it is that you need to study for that portion of the airman certification standard. All right. So those are all of the different topics that you're going to be tested on test day. Okay. So if you go through that certification standards, you can check that off and say, yep, I get it. I know it. And then you've taken some practice tests. Generally, I suggest if you're consistently passing the practice test with an 80% or higher, you're probably ready to take the exam itself. Okay. So we'll go over some study tips here in a second. So, some study materials and resources. We've got some official FAA resources and recommended guides. So, like I said, if you go to offers.flyelectricmonarch.com/study guide, that's going to give you my study guide. So, it's a PDF document where I've taken that airman certification standards and pointed you in the right direction. There's things like the Electronic Code of Federal Regulations, so the ECFRs. There's an advisory circular, which is Advisory Circular 107-2A. That is another document. These are all PDF documents. These are all freely available on the internet. They're not rules and regulations, but there's guidance around Part 107. That's why it's called 107-2A is the version that we're on, okay? That's a document that you'll use to read. There's the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. It's a really thick book. I had a copy of it here. It's a thick book. It's a very thick book. But there's only certain sections that you need to read of that to be prepared for the Part 107 certificate. You need to understand some things like weather, density, altitude, how weather affects performance of an aircraft, okay? Because it's going to affect the performance of your drone. All right. So I suggest just grabbing that study guide. It's actually also going to put you on my mailing list, and I've got a whole email sequence that automatically gets sent to you with all sorts of really good study tips, guidance, information, just things to help you pass the exam. It's all free, okay? And so I suggest going and grabbing that. Now, tips and strategies for test preparation. Everybody is different. Like I said, I have a master's degree in teaching. I have been in education for well over 20 years. I've worked with people from 5-year-olds to 60-year-olds who have decided they want to go get a PhD. Okay. So I've worked with a lot of different people. And what I do know and what I can tell you is that every single person learns differently. All right. And you might see things out there about like the kinesthetic learner or the auditory learner or the visual learner, that sort of thing. The truth of the matter is we all learn in all different ways. We all learn by taking in information from hearing it. We all learn by taking in information from seeing it. We all learn from doing it. Okay. We all learn that way. It's just that we have certain learning preferences. That you may have a preference for listening to a training while you're driving in your car on the way to work. Okay. You might be a person who needs somebody sitting down in front of you with an aeronautical chart and pointing things out, and that you can ask questions right then and there. And that person is there right then and there to answer questions for you. So it's really important that you understand your personal learning preferences. Okay. There are a lot of Part 107 online courses. I have one myself. There are many out there. They all do a fantastic job preparing you for the Part 107 certificate. Okay. It's really just that you have to decide, is online learning the way I like to learn? It's a lot of, and watching videos, maybe replaying things, going through and working through the activities. There's a lot of people that are like, yeah, just give me the information. I'm going to read through it and I'm gonna know it, I'm gonna understand it, okay? So you download all the PDFs that I've given you and you read through them all and you're golden and you're good. There are some people that are like, "No, to go to class, I need to sit down, I need to have a teacher there in front of me, and we're gonna work through this live in person," okay? So it's really important that you understand your own personal learning preferences, all right? And then from there, go figure out what is the best way to do that. So if you're looking for live trainings, a lot of people contact me looking for live trainings. I will probably start eventually doing that at some point, especially now that we're out of the pandemic. But I suggest looking at your local community college. Oftentimes they'll offer this as a course through part of their like continuing education, professional development. Check with your local community college, see if they have anything. You can also check at your local airport. Some flight schools might offer like weekend Part 107 prep courses. Okay. So again, really just take a hard look at how it is that you really like to learn. Don't go and spend money on something when you're like, this is not how I learn. I don't want to learn it this way. Okay. The other thing that I do suggest is taking practice tests. Now, I do have a YouTube video and a blog article on this as well for the practice tests. Now, I recommend 3. I've been a flight instructor for a really long time. I've been in aviation officially almost 30 years as a pilot. And I do recommend 3 different companies for test prep for anything aviation related, okay? The first one is King Schools. So if you go on Google, I also have a blog article that's got links to this, okay? If you go on King School's website, they have a free practice Part 107 test, okay? It is computerized. You can go and you can say, I want 10 questions, I want 5 questions, I want 60 questions. So the test itself, and we'll go into the details here in a second, but the test itself is 60 questions, okay? And you have 120 minutes to complete that. So it's 2 minutes per question. So the way their testing engine is set up is that if you say I want 10 questions, it gives you 20 minutes to take those 10 questions. And then you could pick the different areas. It's divided up into those different areas on the Airman Certification Standards. You can say I want 10 questions on airspace. Okay, that's maybe an area you're working on. I'm going to go get 10 questions on airspace, okay? And then you'll get 20 minutes to answer those questions. So you're stimulating test day, okay? And so this is where we start getting into the kinesthetic learning, all right? The sort of the hands-on learning is you want to practice this test before you go and take it. Practice it on the computer. Simulate testing day that you're going to walk in to a testing center. You're going to be given a piece of scratch paper and a pencil and a calculator, and you're going to be given a testing supplement, right? You're going to be given this testing supplement right here, right? And it's got different charts and all that kind of stuff in there. You don't want test day to be the first time you've seen this document or this book, okay? Again, another one that's free. You can get it through my study guide. It's free from the FAA, but if you want a printed copy of it, you can certainly get that. But what you want to do is you want to start simulating test day. You're learning the content and you need to know the material, but you also need to prep for taking a test. Taking a test is a skill. You've all taken tests in your life. It's a skill. And so what you want to do is when you're practicing this, simulate testing day. It's going to be a quiet room. You're going to get one sheet of paper, you're going to get a pencil, a calculator. I think you get a magnifying glass, and then the Airman Knowledge Testing Supplement. Okay. And that's all you're going to get. And so then you're going to sit down and you're going to practice answering those questions. Okay. So that when you get there on testing day, that you're not like a nervous mess. You're going to be nervous, but you're not this nervous wreck, and you've never taken a test on the computer before and you don't know what you're doing, and you've never seen this document. If you've never seen this document, you're not ready to take the test. Okay. So take that Airman Certification Standards, put together a study guide for yourself, a study schedule for yourself, and then start taking those practice tests. As soon as you study an area, go to the King Schools website. You can just Google King Schools Part 107 practice test, and it's a free website. I don't even think you have to put in your email address. They just give it to you, and it's good. They're good questions. They're really solid questions that are going to be similar to what you'll see on the Part 107 test. The FAA does not release the test bank of questions, so it's not possible for you to start memorizing test questions and go, okay, I saw that test question before, I remember the answer. The FAA does not release their test bank, okay? But King Schools does do a really good job creating very similar test questions, okay? GLIM, GLEIM, and ASA are two others that are leaders in aviation education and test prep. And those are the other two that I recommend for practicing practice test questions. Now, those are going to be a book that you get, and I have links to that on my blog as well. I'll make sure to include this in the description, that you can buy it off Amazon. And it is a book that you get of practice test questions, and it will give you the answer, and then it will give you the explanation, and then it will give you an explanation as to why the other answers are not correct. Okay. So I think that is another really huge part of self-directed learning, is looking through test prep questions. It's not just memorizing test questions, okay? It's analyzing them and going through them and going, okay, this one is wrong because of this. This one is wrong because of that, all right? This one is right because of this. And that you truly understand why you're choosing the answer that you're choosing, okay? So those are really my big top test taking strategies and preparation. Put together a study guide or study plan for yourself. I also think it helps to schedule the test, which we'll go over here in a second. I also think it helps to schedule the test, and so you have a date, you have a deadline that you have to get this ready for. If you just keep putting it off and keep putting it off, keep putting it off, you're never going to feel ready. All right. So give yourself 3 weeks, give yourself a month, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. Okay. And then put together that plan of, okay, one night or every single night, I'm going to study for an hour, and these are the things I'm going to study. I'm going to get on YouTube and watch videos. I'm going to listen to podcasts. I'm going to read. I'm going to, whatever modality, whatever way you like to take in information, do that thing. So, how to register for the test, cost, location, scheduling. Costs change frequently. I think it's $180 now. I could be wrong. Please don't quote me on that. And then you can schedule it for your own time, whenever works for you. I suggest thinking, again, being very reflective and thinking about your own learning preferences and how your brain works. Think about, when is the time of day that your brain is like clear-minded, focused? What time of day is that for you? All right. I know for me, it's the morning. I haven't had all day to get my brain cluttered up with a bunch of other stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily go work a normal day and then try to take the test after work. Okay. I scheduled mine early in the morning, and I woke up, had a good breakfast, had some coffee, went to the testing center, took the test, bam, done. Okay. And so, how do you register for the exam? So let's go back to this Become a Drone Pilot. So this is on the FAA website. This is the Become a Drone Pilot page on the FAA's website. So back in the day, the FAA used to use social security numbers to track everything. Obviously now with cybersecurity and digital hygiene, we don't do that anymore. So the first thing you have to do is you go to their online portal. It's called IACRA. All right, IACRA right here. Integrated Airman Certification and Rating Application. This is where they manage all of their airman certifications and any sort of applications for new certifications or new ratings. Okay. When you go there, you're going to register. And I can't necessarily demo this because I have my own account. But you'll come here, you'll register. And from there, what you'll do is you'll obtain an FTN, which is an FAA tracking number. That is a number that they can track you by in the computer system. All right. Then step number 2 is to schedule an appointment with an FAA approved knowledge testing center. Bring a government issued photo ID to your test. It does need to have a physical address on it, not a PO box. So what you can do, same thing here. I can't necessarily schedule it because I already have this. But what you can do is you come here and you can create an account and you can find a testing center that's nearby to you and then schedule it for a time that works. So some testing centers, they do multiple types of tests. You might be at a testing center and taking your test at an airport, but then other people are also taking airman certification written tests at that same airport. So they might be taking the commercial pilot written, they might be taking the ATP written, okay? You might also go to other types of testing centers where that's just what they do is they do testing. So you might be there with people that are taking their LSAT for law school. So some of these tests are longer than others. So sometimes what they'll do is they'll chunk it and say we're going to do Part 107 test because that's a 2-hour time window. We're going to do them on Thursday mornings, okay? And so that opens up time because some of these like medical school testing, like they're 8 to 10 hours long, right? So they're there all day. So they got to plan the number of computers they have, seats they have, that kind of thing. So you can click on this find a testing center and you can look for different testing centers in your area. And then I'll just type in my Wisconsin one here. I'm going to try to find, 50 within a 50-mile radius of Wisconsin. And we've got small unmanned aircraft general. That's the test you're taking, unmanned aircraft general. I'm going to hit search here. Oh, country. And I got to put the country in here. Search. So right here, I've got a couple colleges that I can take the testing, that I can take the test. I've got an airline. I can go there at the airport and take the test. And then Pilot Smith, I also know is at the airport. So that's going to be like a flight school. So you can schedule this. And basically what you can do is say, okay, maybe I want to take it here. But as you go in, they don't have times available on the days that you want to take it. So you're like, all right, maybe I'm going to go over here because maybe I can do it on Monday mornings. Air Wisconsin's got time available Monday morning. So what you got to do is like figure out, first of all, what's the best location for you, but then do they have times available that you want to take it? If they don't have times available, go look at other testing centers because they might have a better time that better suits your schedule. Okay. So basically that's what you're doing here is you're going, let's go back here. You're going to the IACRA website to get an FTN, then you're going over to the PSI website to schedule the exam. And then you're going to put in, as you're scheduling that exam, you'll put in your FTN and that will link so that the FAA knows that when they get the results of that test, they know that is your test results. Okay. And then step number 3 here is to pass the initial aeronautical test. So you're going to go in, you're going to schedule the test. You're going to go in and you're going to take the test. These are all the different things you get tested on. Nothing different than what you already know from the Airman Certification Standards. They've just got a couple bullet points here listed out for you. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go back after you're done. You're going to go back to IACRA. Okay. The same website up here. You're going to go back to IACRA and you're going to complete form 8710-13. All right. And this is the form that all pilots fill out to apply for a certificate or a rating. So just because you pass this test does not mean that you have a certificate or rating. All right. So it's a remote pilot certificate with a small unmanned aircraft systems rating. So you're getting both here, but you need to come in here and actually apply for the certificate itself. Okay. Then what they're going to do is they're going to do their background check, their information, their things, making sure that you pass that background check. and then they will email you the confirmation when that is complete. And then in the postal mail, they will send you the remote pilot certificate itself. So it is a plastic document. It comes from the FAA. It's your remote pilot. It's essentially your drone pilot's license. Okay. And then you want to make sure that you have your remote pilot certificate available for you whenever you fly your UAS. You want to have that on you if somebody requests to see it. Yep, get out my wallet. Here it is. Okay. So that is how you actually go about getting the test done and then applying for the certificate itself. All right. So again, this link right here, this Become a Drone Pilot, this page right here has got so much really good information for you on it. So if you're not certain on anything, come here, go to the horse's mouth, look at the FAA's website. They've got that information there for you. Okay. So next steps after passing the test, again, you go back to IACRA, fill out that Form 8710-13. They send you the physical copy in the mail. You hang on to it. All right. Now, how do you maintain your certification? So you have to renew it every 24 calendar months. So if you pass your exam on July 3rd, you have until July 31st of 24 calendar months later. So 2 years later, you have to the end of that calendar month to renew your certificate. Super easy to renew your certificate, doesn't even cost anything. So what you'll do is you'll go to FAAsafety.gov. I'll show you that here. You'll go to FAAsafety.gov and there is a renewal. Let's see here. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. There is a renewal course. Let's see here. Can't get to the main page here. I'm trying to get to the main page. But if you go to this FAAsafety.gov, I'm just going to take this all up here. You can come in here and you can search for, and I'm not going to log in because you'll see my personal information, but what you can do here is come here and like up here in the upper left-hand corner, it'll say featured courses and it'll give you different courses that I think you might be interested in. You can see right here that Part 107 Small UAS Recurrent pops right up for me. Okay. You can also click on View Catalog. I'll show you that in a second. But there's going to be a couple different Part 107 recurrent courses. There's a recurrent and then there's a recurrent for Part 61 pilots. So if you're a pilot under Part 61, that's the one that you would use to renew it. Okay. So again, I'm assuming that you're not. If you're here on this information session, you're going to use this Part 107 Small UAS Recurrent. If you click on View Catalog and then View Available Courses, I think this is fantastic. So the FAA, view your courses in progress. That's not what I wanted. Available courses. View available courses. Come on. It's never good doing this live, right? But you can come here to this website. They've got all sorts of different, here we go. This is all the different seminars, courses, trainings, free stuff that the FAA offers. And you can come in here and you can type in different topics, different things that you might be interested in. Some of these are going to be live in person at an airport. Some of these are going to be free. Some of these are going to be paid. And then some are going to be virtual. And you can actually sign up to receive alerts as well. So if you say, okay, these are the things I'm interested in, you can sign up for different types of alerts. So if there's anything related to UAS and it's virtual, yeah, you can get an automated email that whenever something comes up. There's all sorts of different really great webinars, training sessions, all sorts of stuff in here for pilots of all different types. So drone pilots included. So I definitely suggest checking out FAAsafety.gov. All right. So that's how you're going to maintain your certification is you're going to go in there, sign up for that Part 107 recurrent course, and then you're going to take the course and then there's a quiz that you have to take. You have to get 100% in order to have your certificate renewed. Okay. Super easy to get 100% because they just let you keep trying until you get 100%. All right. You have all the information right there in front of you. It's open book, I guess, because you have all the information right there. You go, you take the test. If you get something wrong, try again. Let's get 100%. But I also think it's important that just because you only have to renew your drone certificate every 2 years, I'm a flight instructor. I have to renew my flight instructor certificate every 2 years as well. That process is a little bit more entailed, but I also understand that it's important for me as somebody who is teaching people about aviation that I need to be on top of all of the different things. So things like remote ID, these rules come out in between. Like you got your remote pilot certificate and 24 calendar months later before you have to renew it. There's new rules and regulations that come out. So it's important that you stay on top of those different regulations. Going to those webinars from FAAsafety.gov, that's one great way to do it. Set up some Google alerts that you can monitor different topics that are relevant to you. And so you want to make sure that you're staying on top of those regulations, specifically around drone technology, where it's evolving, it's changing, things sometimes move quickly, sometimes move slowly. You want to make sure that you're staying on top of any sort of regulation. So this is just the FAA. We're just talking about the FAA here. There's a lot of localities that are putting in their own drone regulations. You want to make sure that you're on top of any sort of drones, drone regulations, technology regulations, electronics regulations that might affect how you're using your drone. Okay. So make sure that you stay on top of those things. So here is your reminder. Let's get your drone pilot certificate test scheduled. Let's schedule it for next month. It's April. We're releasing this video on April 27th, 2024. Schedule it for May 2024. Okay. If you're watching this in the future, whatever day it is, schedule your drone pilot certificate for sometime next month. All right. Give yourself that deadline and set aside that study time and practice test time to get ready for the exam. Okay, schedule it. Let's get it done. So here are all the different links. You can screenshot this, take a picture of it if you're watching it on a monitor. Otherwise, I will make sure to put all of these links in the description of the YouTube video as well. You'll have all these here. I'll also include my blog post that I was talking about earlier that had those practice test links in there for you as well. I'll make sure to include that. But yeah, take a screenshot here. And then I want to share with you that Electric Monarch, my company, we do various events throughout the year. Most of them are free. We do have an academy where I'll talk about that in a second, where we do live Q&A sessions. That's part of our paid academy. But for the most part, we run a lot of free events throughout the year. You can go to our Facebook page and at facebook.com/flyelectricmonarch/events. That's where everything is. That's the hub for all of the different events. With one caveat, I do need to go through there and clean up a lot of the different events. I live in Arizona. We do not observe daylight savings. Facebook gets very confused by that. And while I wanted to schedule something for 1 o'clock Arizona time, when daylight savings occurs, Facebook adjusts that by 1 hour, not understanding that it's still 1 o'clock in Arizona. So I do have a bunch of events out there that I do need to update, but make sure to go to the events tab on the Electric Monarch Facebook page and check out our different events. I try to do a free webinar at least once a month, and just on various topics around either the Part 107 certificate or starting and growing a drone business or career. We have people all over the world. Part 107 is only relevant to the US. So we do have a lot of great content for those of you who might be outside of the US and are trying to break into the drone industry, whether it's flying a drone or taking some other skill that you have and bringing it to the drone industry. So maybe you're in sales, maybe you're in marketing, maybe you're in IT, maybe you're whatever field you might be in and you want to bring that to the drone industry. That's really what Electric Monarch does, is we're helping people break into the drone industry, start, grow, and scale a business, or grow their careers in the industry. Take a look at that. Oops, we went the wrong direction. Then we've also got the Dronepreneur Academy. This is some of the flexible on-demand business and career training for the UAS industry. So specifically, I have the Part 107 course as part of the academy. You can buy the course separately if you want. But like I said, all this stuff is available free on the internet too. It's just if you want me to, I've got some videos where I go into these topics in detail with you, and you can stop, record, rewind, and rewatch things. A lot of people find that very helpful. All right. And then we've also got business and career training. So I've got some career focused things in the Dronepreneur Academy. And then I've also got Start Your Drone Business. And that is about, as of this recording, it's about 2/3 done. I call it the Drone MBA. And it is to provide guidance for people who want to start, grow, and eventually scale a drone business. So how do you do that? How do you figure out what your niche is? What kind of services are you going to offer? Are you going to offer a product? It's not necessarily always just flying a drone. Maybe you're making something for a drone. You're making a product for a drone. You're making a product using a drone, whatever it might be. And then figuring out, okay, what is the niche that you're going to focus in on? How are you going to market your services? How are you going to market your product? How are you going to do some research to see, is there even a demand for this? Drones are a newer technology, and sometimes we're creating things when there's already a solution in place. And so people might not realize that maybe a drone can do it quicker, faster, more efficiently, cheaper, etc. Right? So it's figuring out how to do that market research to figure out if there's even a need for what it is that you want to do. And then we go into things like establishing business operations. So, how is it that you're going to accept payments? How are you going to make sure that you're keeping things cyber secure? Things like that. And then finally, we go into just how do you adapt and innovate? How do you create a business that is easily pivotable in the instance of a regulation being put in place or a regulation changing or newer technology comes out and it opens up a lot of different opportunities for your business. So, how do you start a business with the idea that you might not necessarily know what it's going to look like 5 or even 10 years from now? So, how do you maintain that adaptation and innovation piece component to your drone business? Okay. And we also offer open Q&A. Those are recorded sessions that I do. People are welcome to join those sessions live as I answer those questions. For the most part, what we do is I have a place for our Dronepreneur Academy members to pre-submit questions to me. And then I go over those, answer those questions, and then the recording is available in the academy that you can watch and listen to at any time. So you don't need to be present for those open Q&As. It's just I have set aside time that I record the answers to those questions, and I always just invite our academy members to join in if they would like to. I've also got very different types of templates, guides, ebooks. We've got a business plan template. I've got some guides on how to do email marketing. I've got an ebook on over a year's worth of social media content ideas for your drone business. So we've got all sorts of really good stuff in there. And then I do add new content monthly to the academy. And so here, I do have a video on YouTube where I give a little tour of the academy, what it looks like. I'm not going to show that to you now, but you can certainly go to YouTube and take a look at that as well. And then finally, here's how to get a hold of me. If you do have questions, you can email me at hello@flyelectricmonarch.com if you have questions about the Part 107 exam or just in general, like you want to get into the drone industry and you need some help. If you go to flyelectricmonarch.com/links, I got all sorts of really good stuff out there for you. But there's also a link to our Facebook group called Business Strategies for Drone Pilots. That is another good place to ask questions. The drone industry is huge. There's a lot of different opportunities in there. And so there's people in that Facebook group that might also be able to contribute to your question because maybe they've got different types of experience than I do and can maybe offer up a different perspective. And then also there's probably other people that have the same questions you have. So feel free to go to that Facebook group. It's called Business Strategies for Drone Pilots. And you can request to join. I'll get you in there. And then, you can certainly feel free to post any types of questions in there. So thank you for joining me today for this FAA Part 107 information session. I hope you found it useful. My goal here is to just really help you feel a little less intimidated by this whole process, feeling confident going into test day that you're like, yes, I'm ready for this. I know exactly what it is that I got to do and get you certified as a drone pilot. So again, if you have questions, hello@flyelectricmonarch.com. Join our Facebook group, Business Strategies for Drone Pilots. And I appreciate your time. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next information session that we offer. Again, go to Electric Monarch's Facebook page. You can find our other events that we've got coming up. Thank you.